The fact that humans cannot return to the past is a great tragedy. You were forced to randomly choose one of all the possibilities that could have existed in the past, and that linear path became your destiny. I know logically that the butterfly effect is a constant thing, but if we consider that everything is connected, we still bear some responsibility for our past actions, and carrying the burden of that responsibility, knowing we can't change anything about it, is extremely painful and illogical. But being illogical isn't enough to demotivate the brain. For example, you're in a forest and you're afraid a lion will eat you. If a lion comes and eats you, that's a logical fear. But if there are no lions in the forest, and there never will be, then it's illogical. Your brain clings to a possibility, and the fact that it's impossible doesn't change anything. This possibility carries you through life, and at its core, there is always fear. When you meet someone, that thing you fell in love with at first sight, even if that person remains the same, that feeling is gone, yet you cling to that possibility. From the outside, it looks like loyalty, but deep down, it's fear. Today, my 21 years of life, I saw 80 years of experience in one man's eyes, and I realized that if you don't do something for yourself, you become a slave to a nihilistic order. I was facing an 80-year-old man, right? We were sitting, and he started talking about his good old memories. And what makes this painful is that all this reminiscing is one-sided, and I can't bring myself to care. He was reminiscing about his old days, telling me how deserving of praise he was, and demanding that praise from me, while I was thinking about when he would stop talking so I could get the hell out of there. Because I wasn't in those memories, and I had nothing to gain from this story. Life is a competition, and if you have a cinematic presentation of your successes in that competition, it might interest me. But even if you were David Goggins standing in front of me, if you started talking about what you did, I'd beat you up, because everything is action. The moment you stop, you're finished in my eyes. This used to be a fundamental characteristic of solipsism for me, because I thought of it as equivalent to saying, everything around me exists only as long as it is around me. But when you think about it a little more carefully, solipsism is hard to make sense of. There is no logic to the existence and disappearance of someone who occupies my focus for a second on the street and then vanishes, as part of the plan of my schizophrenic loneliness. Every argument you try to make to rationalize the irrationality self-defeats itself. For example, if those NPCs on the street are designed as soulless herds, coded for a couple of dialogues just to convince me that there are 8 billion people on Earth, then it holds my family and friends, who are part of my story, and me responsible for everything. This means that there is no competition in my life because my family supports me unconditionally. If there is any competition, it stems from solidarity, which is the opposite of competition. Let's say I'm preparing for a running competition, and since this competition is organized internationally, one candidate will be selected from each country. Running is an individual sport, so there is no networking aspect to it. In other words, I have no intelligence about who I'm competing against or what strategy they might use, and there is also a factor like genetics. Unlike in a video game, I am not programmed to win, equipped only with items that boost me, and my opponents are not strategically positioned with fixed HP and XP at a level I can beat, so I don't know what will happen. Then the race begins, and I lose. If the world is just me, why wasn't I the winner? What could a solipsist's argument be here? The people you're competing against are just random NPCs from the 8 billion people on Earth, people you know nothing about, with no substance or meaning, and you've lost to them. So now your response is to reduce this whole situation to those around you. What part of the world promises you endless victory? We can find comfort by bringing the topic back to the point I made at the beginning of the video. Your brain clings to a possibility, and it doesn't care if it's impossible because, for your brain, the world really is just you. But at the same time, when your brain finds something logical, it separates it from you because logic is a kind of desire. Desire is fueled by external motivations, that is, a shared rational perspective. In goals, the extent to which you deviate from logic is interpreted by people as passion. What makes your goal, what internalizes it with you, is passion, and it is irrational. You evaluate logic by reaching a common consensus from external factors, and when it is outside of you, you don't question this logic much because its authority is not limited to you, so it doesn't worry you. Even though your brain's defense mechanism is to believe that the world consists only of you, this is not solipsism because your brain wants to believe that you are not a schizophrenic loner, but a normal person surrounded by others. It wants to believe that life is logical. In a game with comprehensive world building, satisfying visuals and characters who add to the story are placed to make the game plausible, and in a world where every person claims to be the main character, this illusion can only be justified by an order that makes sense. However, this is only possible in a simulation where we are all authentic individuals but exclude each other in our own observations, and our clones take over in each observation. But this also raises doubts about humanity's actual population, because if such a scenario exists, and there are 8 billion people in the world, the unimaginable computing power required for this process and, speaking from my own experience, the unsatisfactory result would make it impossible. Still, it's impossible to disprove this because it's impossible to step outside perception and offer a different perspective, and within the skepticism created by the fact that everything is a result of our perception, it's not easy to say that any theory is impossible. The only thing we can do is judge whether it makes sense.